fight time and when it's school time, that Hawaiian warrior spirit, it awakens.
Tô melhor do que o Joe Jones. Tudo tem seu momento, tudo tem seu tempo. Acho que agora é meu momento, que eu tô vivendo, e agora vai dar tudo certo.
11 years ago, Charles Oliveira and Max Holloway fought for the first time, and the fight ended in just 1 minute and 39 seconds. A strange injury, a sudden stoppage, and a result that haunted Oliveira for over a decade.
Não, de que eu nem mexi o pescoço nem nada, e mesmo assim... Ai, irmão, aí, filho, só chorei, mano. Eu pensei que eu não voltava a andar mais, que eu não ia ter mais movimento do lado esquerdo. Foi um momento muito complicado na minha vida.
Fast forward to March 7th, 2026, UFC 326 in Las Vegas. The two fighters finally meet again. This time, it's not just about revenge. It's for the BMF title, a belt meant for the toughest fighters in the sport. So what really happened that night? How did Oliveira completely shut down one of the greatest strikers in UFC history? Let's break down the fight that had the entire MMA world talking. Let's rewind the clock for a second. August 23rd, 2015, Saskatoon, Canada, the main event of UFC Fight Night 74. Two young featherweights stepping into the spotlight, Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira. At the time, both guys were hungry prospects trying to break into the elite tier of the division. Fans expected fireworks, a high-paced, action-packed main event. Instead, the fight ends almost before it even begins, just 1 minute and 39 seconds into the first round. Early in the fight, Oliveira shoots for a takedown, something he's done hundreds of times before, completely normal, nothing unusual. But then suddenly, something changes. Oliveira grabs his neck, he drops to the canvas, hard, and instantly, you can see something is wrong. Referee Herb Dean doesn't hesitate. He waves the fight off immediately.
Definitely been working on it. And there you'll see, that's how confidence in his ground game. Rips you up and pulls you into his guard, and very intelligent by Max Holloway. Don't play jiu-jitsu with this kid.
Yeah, not gonna mess around on
he may be, if this, oh no.
The arena goes silent. Medical staff rushes into the octagon while fans sit there confused, trying to figure out what they just watched. It takes several minutes before Oliveira can even be helped out of the cage. Nobody really understands what happened.
He's down, he's definitely in pain.
And Max Holloway, as classy as they come, went over to check on his fallen opponent.
The official explanation at the time? An esophageal tear. But here's where the story gets even stranger, because even the doctors weren't fully sure that's what it was. They couldn't completely explain the injury. Years later, Oliveira finally revealed what that moment actually felt like during an interview with the New York Post, and the details are honestly terrifying. He said that right after the injury, he lost all feeling on the entire left side of his body. On the way to the hospital, medical staff tried to put an IV in his arm, and he couldn't feel it at all. Not even a little. And suddenly, the conversation in that ambulance got very serious. There were real fears that he might be paralyzed. After that strange night in 2015, the careers of Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira went in completely different directions. Different divisions, different struggles, different victories. But somehow, those two roads slowly curved back toward each other. And 11 years later, they both led to the exact same place, Las Vegas, bright lights, and a belt on the line. First, there's Max Holloway. What he did at featherweight was nothing short of ridiculous. Holloway went on a run that turned him from a rising prospect into a full-blown UFC legend. He didn't just win fights, he dominated the best fighters in the world.
The greatest of all time.
He's the baddest motherfucker. I think he's the best 145er ever.
He's one of the all-time greats. He's one of the best ever.
I want to be, remember, I want the greatest, I want to be a legend, and I want gold belts around my waist one day.
Including Jose Aldo, the man many people still call the greatest featherweight of all time, and Holloway beat him twice. Along the way, Max built one of the most insane records in UFC history, the most significant strikes ever landed inside the octagon. Thousands of punches, endless pressure, and somehow, the man just never seemed to get hurt. His chin became legendary. Opponents threw bombs at him for years, and Holloway just kept marching forward like a guy who forgot what damage means. Then came UFC 300, a moment that instantly became part of MMA folklore. And before we get into what happened next, because trust me, this is where the fight starts getting really interesting. If you enjoy deep breakdowns of legendary UFC fights like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Alright, now let's get back to the fight. With seconds left in the fight against Justin Gaethje, Holloway did something only Holloway would do. Instead of playing it safe, he pointed to the ground, right in the middle of the octagon, basically telling Gaethje, let's stand here and throw everything we've got. The crowd went insane, and moments later, Holloway delivered one of the most jaw-dropping knockouts in UFC history.
Look at this. Holloway just told him, stand right here. Oh, big connection.
Meanwhile, Charles Oliveira's road to the top looked very different.
From the moment the first bell rings, he's coming at you. Guns blazing. He doesn't fight safe. He doesn't fight to outpoint you. There's no one that's been like that, where you see one version of them that kind of has a little bit of quit in them, and then a version that is unstoppable.
After that terrifying injury in 2015, Oliveira moved up to the lightweight division. But the early years there were messy. He missed weight more than once. Critics started writing him off. Fans questioned whether he would ever reach his potential. For a while, it looked like his career might just stall out. But then, something changed. Oliveira suddenly went on an absolute tear through the division. One win turned into two turned into 5. And before anyone really realized what was happening, Oliveira had built an 11-fight win streak, the longest run the lightweight division had ever seen, submission after submission.
Elkins is in all kinds of trouble. The hype is for real. The hands, he's got the hands connected. Now he's hanging on the neck. Charles Oliveira!
Finish after finish. Eventually, he captured the UFC lightweight championship. And even when things went wrong, Oliveira still found a way to win. At one point, he was actually stripped of the title for missing weight by just half a pound before a fight even started. But when the cage door closed that night, he still went out there and won the fight anyway. But like all championship stories, both runs eventually hit the same wall. A rising force named Ilia Topuria. Oliveira lost the belt to Topuria in June 2024 via a brutal first-round knockout.
Well, he's already busted up. Out cold.
A man of his word!
Just a few months later, in October 2024, Holloway also fell to Topuria. Two champions, two different journeys. Both are losing their titles to the same man, but neither of them stayed down for long. Both fighters bounced back, and eventually the UFC realized something obvious. There was only one fight that made sense next, a rematch. 11 years later, Holloway vs. Oliveira. And this time, it wasn't just for revenge, it was for the BMF title. March 7th, 2026. T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas. UFC 326. The building is packed, not a single empty seat. The crowd is loud, the lights are bright, and the energy feels like something huge is about to happen. After all, this is a BMF title fight, a belt that's supposed to represent pure violence, heart, and fighters who refuse to back down. And here's the crazy part. The first 4 BMF title fights in UFC history all ended in finishes. So naturally, everyone in the arena expected this one to end the same way. But Charles Oliveira had a very different plan. From the very first bell, it was clear he wasn't interested in standing there trading punches with Holloway. Nope. Oliveira came in with one mission, grappling. Almost immediately, he starts walking Holloway down. No hesitation, no feeling out process. He closes the distance, catches the clinch, and suddenly, boom, Holloway is on his back after a perfectly timed outside trip. Just like that, Oliveira takes control of the fight. And once the fight hits the ground, things get scary fast. In round 1 alone, Oliveira starts throwing submission attempts like he's speedrunning a jiu-jitsu tutorial. Rear naked chokes, face cranks, constant pressure. It's relentless. To Holloway's credit, his defense is incredible. His hand fighting is sharp, he's blocking grips, peeling fingers, doing everything right. But there's one big problem. He cannot get back to his feet. Round 2 rolls around, and it's basically the same movie, just with a slightly different scene. Oliveira shoots again. Another takedown. Another round of grappling pressure. More submission attempts. More control. By the end of the second round, Oliveira has attempted 4 submissions and already racked up nearly 10 minutes of control time. At this point, the crowd starts shifting in their seats because the fight they expected, a wild striking battle, is turning into something very different. By round 3, the reality becomes obvious. Holloway needs something big, a knockout, a miracle, something. But Oliveira's wrestling just keeps shutting everything down, and that's the shocking part. Max Holloway, a fighter famous for his incredible takedown defense, is suddenly being planted on the mat again and again with the exact same technique. Rounds 4 and 5 get even rougher. Oliveira climbs into dominant positions, starts dropping sharp elbows from mount, mixes in a brutal knee to the head during a scramble, and continues hunting for submissions like a man who refuses to let the fight breathe. Meanwhile, Holloway keeps doing what Holloway always does. He survives. Every choke attempt, every squeeze, every bad position, he escapes them all somehow. But in a fight like this, surviving isn't enough. When the final bell rings, there's really no suspense left. The judges' scorecards come in. Charles Oliveira has just dominated one of the greatest fighters in UFC history. And in the process, he becomes the new BMF champion. And the numbers from the fight make it even crazier. 101 total strikes landed, 5 successful takedowns, and an unbelievable 20 minutes and 49 seconds of ground control out of a 25-minute fight. That's not just a win, that's a grappling masterclass. Now here's where the story takes a turn, because while Charles Oliveira was putting on an absolute grappling clinic, the Las Vegas crowd wasn't exactly loving it. By the championship rounds, the boos inside T-Mobile Arena started getting louder and louder. Fans came expecting a wild BMF brawl. Fists flying, knockdowns, chaos. Instead, they were watching Oliveira turn the octagon into a Brazilian jiu-jitsu classroom. And Joe Rogan? Yeah, he wasn't about to let that slide. During the live broadcast, Rogan straight up called the booing fans out. He basically told everyone watching that the people complaining were casuals. In his view, what Oliveira was doing wasn't boring. It was elite, high-level grappling, the kind of stuff that takes years to master. Even Daniel Cormier chimed in on commentary, raising a really interesting question. Maybe fans had built up this idea that a BMF fight must always be a violent slugfest. But fighting isn't just about punching someone in the face. Sometimes the most dominant performance you'll ever see happens on the ground. And let's be real for a second. The crowd's frustration is understandable. When you hear BMF title fight, you expect fireworks. But what did Oliveira do that night? That was way harder than it looked. Max Holloway isn't just some random opponent. He's one of the toughest fighters in UFC history. A man famous for his cardio, his durability, and his ability to survive almost anything. And yet somehow, Oliveira made controlling him for nearly an entire fight look routine, which might actually be the most terrifying part of all. After the fight, once the crowd had settled down and the belt was wrapped around Oliveira's waist, something really special happened. Oliveira grabbed the microphone, walked over to Holloway, and spoke directly to him. No trash talk, no victory lap, just pure respect.
A gente somos diferentes de todos esses outros caras. A gente é família, a gente é BMF de verdade. O maior orgulho é poder lutar aqui, ter a minha família do lado e a família dele aqui.
And honestly, that moment right there explains why people fall in love with this sport. Because sometimes, after 25 minutes of trying to choke each other unconscious, the fighters remind everyone that respect still comes first. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you enjoy deep fight breakdowns like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we've got a lot more insane UFC stories coming your way. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.